if we've got a couple of questions on healthcare, we'd be happy to do that. As I was out in the audience beforehand, a gentleman came up and said, you know, will you take questions? Of course we will. And we've got this superb gentleman and this superb gentleman, and I'm the admin man. Raise your hand or come on.
How about questions about what's going on in Washington?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can answer
those questions.
Go ahead. We want to stay focused on affordable care because this has been a great rally. And by the way, I think this reaction, Sheldon's reaction, and your reaction too. If we just listen to what Jonathan and George said, that was the most compelling evidence. One of the values of this meeting today is Jim and Sheldon and David and I can take those stories back. And they're powerful and they'll have an effect. But let's start right over here, sir. And I'll repeat the questions whenever here.
The Congressional Budget Office says by 2025, the average American will be spending half their income on private insurance premiums, even with the Affordable Care Act. While I don't think that we should allow the Republicans to replace it with nothing, I would ask our congressional delegation to try to replace it with a program that works, single-payer, national health insurance, Medicare for all.
If you heard the question, essentially we can do better both financially and in terms of and healthcare outcomes with a single-payer system. And I think, frankly, I'm going to turn it to Sheldon and to Jim, but I'm old enough to have voted for the single-payer system back in 1994.
Absolutely, and if we can't get that far, we should be fighting for what we almost got in the ACA, which is Medicare down to 50. And for starters, and if we can't do that, we should get a public option into every exchange which I think will prove the point and make the next steps easier. To your point about cost, one thing that we didn't mention about the ACA is that before the Affordable Care Act was passed, the Congressional Budget Office was extrapolating out what the cost of the federal health care system was going to be. And from now to 10 years from now, they had a prediction of how much it was going to cost. Then along came the Affordable Care Act, and suddenly costs came down. And they amended their prediction based on the changes, and the difference in this next decade between the costs pre-ACA and the costs with ACA is more than $2 trillion. So all this big talk about how we need to save money in healthcare by cutting Medicaid, by cutting Medicare, forget about it. They've already saved $2 trillion if they just look in front of their noses and see what we've done, which has saved all the money.
So just to add just a little bit, because I agree with both Senator Reid and Senator Whitehouse in this, that moving in the direction of Medicare for all and the public action has to be our goal. And again, this is about focusing on this early preventative care, and that's where we're going to realize the long-term benefits going forward in the out years. If you're catching problems early on before they become more expensive and significant. Why expanding Medicare, and as Sheldon said, starting surely at age 50, and or not a single-payer system, and then at least a public option, is that the overhead cost in administering those programs is significantly lower than just the other forms of health insurance, which are eat up a significant part of the healthcare pie. It's the administrative cost. We can do better by moving to things like a single payer or the public option.